Now that SB19 is self-managed, what role does Sony Philippines play in the career of SB19? Can they help SB19 break the US market since they are a global label? From a business perspective, what are the advantages and disadvantages they are facing? Can you pitch some ideas to 1Z Entertainment? Will you be heard? How can you help them? Hi, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. I would really appreciate it. And of course, share the video if you can. It's really helping my channel. If you haven't done so, please share it. If you are already doing it, please continue. It's really helping my channel. Okay, so these are questions sent by you guys. Most of you wanted to say anonymous. First question is, what is the role of Sony Music Philippines to the career of SB19 now that SB19 is a self-managed group? Second question is, can Sony Music Philippines push the career of SB19 in North America, given that Sony is actually a global company? And the third question, which we will answer in another video, is now that they are a self-managed group, what are the difficulties and challenges and of course advantages that they are facing? This is also connected to Blackpink because Blackpink's contract with YG already expired, although YG said that they're going to announce something by September, whatever that means. But there are some fans who actually don't want them to renew their contract with YG and manage themselves. And then there are fans who actually want them to renew their contract with YG. Okay, so for this video, let's do the first two questions. The role of Sony Music Philippines. The role of a label in the career of an artist really depends on the kind of contract that they sign, but I'm not sure what kind of contract SB19 signed with Sony Music Philippines. It could be for distribution only, or just for licensing, or a combination, or it could be the infamous 360 deal. If it is just distribution, then Sony doesn't really influence anything in SB19's career. They simply distribute the music. Provided, of course, that the music does not violate the brand policies and values of Sony. Now, if it is a 360 deal, that's a different story. The 360 deals. In the US, the preferred structure of many labels is the 360 deal. A 360 is an exclusive contract between a label and an artist. The record label not only takes a share of the artist's music sales, but also percentage of revenue from other ventures such as concert, merchandise, television appearances, or publishing. The rationale behind it? A record label could spend millions on studio time, production costs, music videos, wardrobe, makeup, public appearances, and others just to build the name of the artist. And it is that name that allows the artist to earn through other means like concerts, endorsements, appearances. However, record labels don't always recoup their investments on music sales alone. The only way for them to make their money back is to have a piece of everything else. Under this deal, every expense the record label makes towards building an artist's career is recoupable, which means that those costs are held as a debt against future royalties. While K-pop idols get trained and are housed and fed by the agency, Western artists actually get advances. It's exactly what it sounds like. Artists are paid in advance even before they release an album. This allows the artist to quit whatever job they're holding and just to pursue and concentrate on their music full time. I'm not sure if labels in the Philippines give advances to artists though. This format actually emerged in the early 2000s, mostly as a response to the significant decline in album sales. If Sony Music US is to push SB19 in the US or other Western countries, SB19 might be asked to sign a 360. That is, if Sony Music Philippines doesn't have this deal with them yet. However, getting signed by Sony Music US or any other label for that matter doesn't guarantee success. There's a lot of artists signed under a label and nothing seems to be happening with their career. It is certainly a big step to be pushed by a US label, but that is not the be-all and end-all of one's career. Can Sony Music Philippines help SB19 go global? The answer is yes. They definitely can help, but Whether or not they will help is another question altogether. So, for us to better understand that, we need to first understand the relationship of Sony Music Philippines with Sony Music headquarters in the US. Sony Music US and Sony Music Philippines are connected, but they are actually separate entities. That means Sony Music Philippines is responsible for its own profit and loss, or P&L. It needs to sustain itself, earn enough money so that it can keep on operating. However, Sony Music Philippines has access to global networks like distribution. It doesn't mean Sony Music Philippines can just tap into the network anytime, though. They still go through channels, as implied in the 2020 press release from Sony Music. In other words, Sony Music Philippines can't just pick up the phone for whatever they need and expect to be entertained right away by Sony Music US. Also, there is a cost to everything. If Sony Music Philippines wants to use the distribution network of Sony Music US for an artist like SB19, they go through channels and protocols, which includes justifying the cost. There's always one fundamental question that needs to be answered. Why would Sony Music US spend time, legal fees, and other expenses in distributing an album of an artist? If the local branch can show that an artist can sell to a level that it will not just be a break even, but has an actual potential to increase business, then the chances of that artist getting pushed becomes better. So what will make Sony US want to push SB19 to the West? Sales. The ability to pull in the numbers. That means album sales, streams, concerts, endorsements, and others. If Sony Music US realizes its potential, then they have better chances of getting pushed here in the US or in other Western countries. There is, however, major changes that's happening. In an article published August 2, Billboard said that US labels are actually having a hard time grooming pop stars nowadays. The consensus among label executives is that the last pop star to break big was actually Olivia Rodrigo. It seems that they see a lot of musicians who would have a steady number of streams or would have a hit every now and then, but they can't even fill a concert hall, let alone an arena. Just look at the landscape. The only artists filling up stadiums and arenas are at least 5-year-old artists and K-pop idols. This leads us to the next point. Superfans, aka K-pop strategy. According to Billboard, 15% of music listeners are responsible for saving album sales for 2023. Music labels call them superfans, patterned after K-pop fans. K-pop albums, usually made available in multiple versions and formats so superfans can buy more than one copy, actually accounted for 6 of the top 10 physical album and 16 of the top 50 physical albums according to Luminate. The only artist to outsell K-pop artists who released an album this year, 2023, TXT, Stray Kids, Twice, 17. The only artist to outsell all of them, Taylor Swift. And she actually replicated the K-pop approach by offering over 20 different versions of her album, Midnights. Labels are realizing that they can't stay on their high horses anymore. If they want consumer money, they and their artists need to establish and sustain a relationship with their fans. The illusion of being untouchable or exclusive won't work anymore. Fans want artists that care about them, not just them as fans, but them as people. Artists also need to pump out content regularly. Spotify CEO Daniel Ek said that an album every 4 years won't cut it anymore. There are too many content creators out there and there are millions of contents coming out daily. Fans are now restless and there are millions of creators vying for their attention. And let's face it, some of these content creators are better artists than the ones being shoved down the public throats by big labels. It has to go beyond the quality of the content. It has to be about loyalty. According to Billboard, labels have now accepted that fan support has to be beyond music. The fans need to want to support the artist too. Moving forward, US labels are most likely going to do two things, according to Billboard. First, sign more artists that would give them steady earnings. In the absence of few great artists, then they can just settle for many steady earners. Second, they need to find artists that will do it in the K-pop way. Create and release content regularly and establish a better relationship with their fans to gain their loyalty. Musicians with substance. According to the article, US labels are now looking for artists with substance. This statement is loaded. They could mean several things. One, artists that will not just pull in the stream but also sell tickets, fill stadiums, sell merchandise, and bring more money in general. Second, one hit song or several hit songs won't do it anymore. They need consistency. Third, they could be looking for someone that will have a real impact in the music industry, not someone that will simply offer more of the same. Maybe the US music industry is finally getting sick of the garbage that they themselves helped create. SB19 definitely fits the bill. They have the potential, they have substance in their music. We don't even need to discuss that. They are a powerhouse in the Philippines, and we can see the growing fandom in the US. And they have a great relationship with 18. I think all that we need to do, we, meaning SB19 and 18, is to continue growing the fandom, growing the popularity until it gets to a level where it's going, Sony Music Philippines can actually prove to Sony Music US or the headquarters that SB19 is not just a break-even kind of guy, that or kind of group. They can actually make money. Remember that SB19 has an extra hurdle, and that is the lack of track record of the Philippines in fielding or grooming or launching the career of a Filipino in mainstream pop industry in the US. So that leaves the weight on 18's shoulder. 18 and SB19 will need to make the sale. We need to be the ones to prove to Sony Music Philippines, so they can prove Sony Music US that SB19 has what it takes. At this stage, 10,000 CDs, 1 million streams, those won't cut it anymore. Sony Music US needs to see the power of SB19's brand. Not just the music, but SB19's brand. Always remember that is the brand that they're looking at. In other words, US labels want to see an artist supported by a dedicated fandom, big enough for them to make a lot of money. Again, make them a lot of money and not just a break even. So yeah, casual listeners are not enough. It's so odd because it feels like, why is it now the job of the fandom to push the group? Shouldn't it be the label pushing the group? Well, when we tilted the power towards the listeners and the consumers, the responsibility is also tilted. But yeah, well, I hope you learned something from that. If you have any questions, clarifications, if you have your own inputs, let me know. There are some people who's actually confused what distribution means. Let me know if you want me to explain. But it's not just simple uploading of your music to iTunes and Amazon Music and stuff like that. It's a lot more complicated than that. Okay, so if you have any questions, clarifications, let me know. I'll try to answer them. You can also get in touch with me in any of the social media links that you see on your screen right now. And of course, share the video if you can. It's really helping my channel. Thank you so much. Till next time, I appreciate you.